In this video, we will see top 10 basic SQL interview questions. So we'll start with the top 10 basic SQL interview questions and we'll move on to top 10 intermediate SQL interview questions and top 10 advanced SQL interview question. Because mostly in a data analytics or SQL interviews, people start with basic SQL interview questions, and once we are able to answer those questions, we will move on to intermediate and advanced level questions. So, in this video, we will see top 10 basic SQL interview questions that you will encounter definitely in a data analyst or SQL interview. So, our first question is, what is the difference between delete, drop, and truncate? First of all, delete command is used to remove rows from a table based on specified condition. That is, we are using delete command to remove certain records from a table. And here the table structure remains intact, which means table structure is not at all affected. The only thing which is affected by delete clause is that the records specified in the where condition will be deleted using delete clause, and the syntax for that is delete from the table name from which we are going to delete the record, and using the where condition we are going to specify the condition based on which the records are going to get deleted. An example is delete from customer table, that is table name will be customer and where condition will specify id equal to 2 or 3, whichever id we want to delete from that particular table. So that is an example of delete clause. And coming to drop, the drop command is used to remove an entire table or a database. So drop command, we will remove the entire table without considering any specific condition. We are going to remove entire table or database. It deletes the entire table, including its structure, data, indexes, constraints, everything. And if used on a database, it removes the entire database itself. So we can use drop command to remove either a table or a database, and it will completely delete the table or database without considering any specific condition. And all the object associated with the particular table or database will also get deleted or dropped from the database when we use drop command. And the syntax for drop command is drop table, table name will be specified at the end, or we can use drop database and we will specify the database name. And coming to truncate, truncate command is used to remove all rows from a table. So truncate command is similar to delete clause. The difference is that in truncate we don't have to specify any condition. Truncate will remove entire records from a table without considering any where clause. It will remove entire records from a table. It deletes all rows from the table but retain the table structure. That is, the table will remain in the database, but the records won't be there in the database. The entire table will get blank. It is faster than delete for removing all rows from a table. It is because in the delete clause we are going to specify certain condition, and the database or the database engine will have to check the condition and then delete the record. But for truncate, we don't have a condition based on which the records are going to get deleted. So truncate will completely delete the table. Therefore, truncate will be faster than delete. Syntax for truncate is truncate table and we'll specify the table name. We don't have to specify any other condition. Only truncate table and table name specified will delete all the records from a table without considering any specific other condition. So this is the difference between delete, drop, and truncate statements. Now, when is group by used in a SQL? So group by clause is used to group rows that have same values in specified columns into summary rows, like in an aggregate function. And these are the places where we can use group by clause. The first place is in aggregation, and the second one is grouping by multiple columns. Then the third one is filtering groups with having clause. So whenever you are using a having clause, there should be a group by clause before the having clause. Then combining with joins, grouping with date or time functions. And these are two examples of applying group by clause in the query. So in the first example, we are using the department column to group the results. That is, we are counting the number of employees in each department in the first query. That is, select department, count star as employee count from employee table. And here we are using the group by clause. The group by is based on department. So in the final output, we will have a table where we have a column called as department, and the second column will be the employee count. And each department will have their corresponding employee count. And in the second example, we are using a group by clause and a having clause. Here, we are displaying the departments and the corresponding average salary for which average salary is greater than 50,000. So here we have two column department and the second is the aggregate function average salary as average salary column from employee table, and this is grouped by department column, and finally we are filtering the aggregated result based on the having clause. In the having clause we are specifying the condition, that is average of salary greater than 50,000. So our result will be having the records or the departments for which average salary is greater than 50,000. So these are the applications of group by clause. Also, make sure that whenever we answer a question, try to answer it in a structured format. So you can specify what is that particular clause and list some application of that particular clause, and then finally give some examples of that clause. It would be a good approach. Then moving on to third question. What is the difference between where clause and having clause? We already saw having clause. Now let us see what is the difference between where clause and having clause. The where clause and having clause are both used in SQL queries to filter and conditionally retrieve data. The first one is where clause. Where clause is used to filter row based on specified conditions. It is used to filter data in the context of select, update, delete, or insert. So we can use where clause in all this context. Where clause is typically placed after the from clause and before the group by or order by clause. So that is the order in which we have to specify the where clause. So this will be the basic syntax of where clause, and where clause we are using to specifically filter data based on a row by row basis. And in having clause is used to filter the result of a grouped query based on aggregate conditions. It is used in the context of select statement when using the group by clause. So whenever we have to filter some result which are aggregated based on some group by clause, we can use the having clause. Having clause is placed after the group by clause and before the order by clause. So this is an example of using having clause. Here we are counting the number of records based on the column 1, and from table we'll specify the table name, and after that we'll specify group by clause, and finally after specifying the group by clause and we have aggregated the data, now we want to filter that aggregated result. That time we will use having clause, and here we have finally specified a filtering condition based on having clause, that is having count of star greater than 10. Now moving on to fourth question. What are scalar and aggregate functions in SQL? And we have to specify examples also. Scalar functions operate on a single value and return a single value, while aggregate functions operates on a set of values and return a single value. So in both the conditions, the functions will return single values, but the way in which they operate are different. In scalar functions, they operate on single values and return single value. That is, on a row by row basis, scalar function will act. But aggregate functions operates on a set of values and return a single value. So functions like sum, average, count, minimum, and all will act on different values or different rows and will return a single value. So that is the difference between scalar and aggregate function. And these are some examples of scalar and aggregate function. uh, when we see the examples of scalar and aggregate functions itself, we will get to know what is the difference. So upper, lower, length, concat, substring, left, right, and round functions are scalar functions. So they will act on a single row and they will give a single output or a single row output. But in case of aggregate functions like sum, average, count, minimum, maximum, standard deviation, and variance, they will act on multiple rows and they will finally provide a single output. So that is the difference between scalar and aggregate function. Now, fifth question is, what does Colli's function do? So Colli's is one of the function which we use to deal with null values in SQL. Colli's function in SQL is used to return the first non-null expression among its argument. It takes multiple expressions as parameters and return the value of the first non-null expression. If all expressions are null, it returns null. And the syntax for Colli's function is Colli's, and inside parentheses we will specify expression. It can be column, it can be equations, it can be single scalar values, and we can give n number of expression in Colli's function. Expression 1, expression 2, expression n are the expressions to be evaluated. The functions return the value of first non-null expression. Consider that expression 1 is null and expression 2 is not null. In that case, Colli's function, the output will be expression 2. Consider that expression 1 is null, expression 2 is null, and until expression n minus 1 it is null. That time the output will be expression n. The function returns the value of first non-null expression. And this is an example of using Colli's function. So we are taking product name as the first column, sales quantity as the second column, and in the Colli's function we are specifying target quantity, and if target quantity is not provided or if it's null, we will specify target quantity is not specified. We will return that not specified value in that particular row as target quantity. Now moving on to sixth question. What is the difference between SQL and NoSQL database? For a SQL database, data structure is organized in tables with predefined schema. That is the structure. And in terms of scalability, it is scaled vertically by adding more resources to a single server. And query language is SQL, standardized SQL query language, and it can be MySQL, it can be PostgreSQL, it can be SQLite, and there are different variations of SQL language that can be used. And it follows acid property, that is atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. This itself is a big topic to understand, so I'm not going to explain each of the acid properties one by one. Actually, there are good articles where we can read about this atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability of a database. And the use case well suited for applications with structured and complex data requirement. And examples are financial systems or e-commerce platforms. And when coming to NoSQL database itself tells that it is not only SQL database, and data structure support various data formats including JSON, XML, key value pairs, and more dynamic or non-predefined schemas. Scalability designed for horizontal scalability, allowing distributed database across multiple servers or clusters. Query language can vary depending on specific type of NoSQL databases. Consistency, it follows base properties, that is basically available, soft state, eventually consistent. Prioritizing high availability and fault tolerance over strict consistency. And use case well suited for dynamic and evolving data requirement. Real time applications, it is most commonly used. Big data scenarios and situations where flexibility and scalability are considered over predefined structures. So this is the common difference between SQL and NoSQL database. These are only few points I just wanted to list. There are more differences between SQL and NoSQL database. Now the seventh question is, what is a primary key and foreign key? So primary key is a field or a set of field in a table that uniquely identifies each record or row in that table, and it ensures that each record in the table can be uniquely identified using the value in the primary key column. And this is an example of creating a primary key column. So we are creating a table called as students, and student id we are considering as the primary key. And coming to foreign key is a column or a set of columns in a table that refers to the primary key of another table. It establishes a link between the data in two tables, creating a relationship. So foreign key actually we use in a fact table where we connect the fact and dimension table, and it will be connected based on primary key from the dimension table and foreign key in the fact table. So here is an example of creating a foreign key. So here we have created a second table, that is cost table, Here for the course table, the primary key is course id, and we have another column called as course name, and we have another column which is the student id column, which is the foreign key column, which is reference to the first table which we created in the primary key example. So here we are specifying student id as the foreign key, and it references student id column from the students table. So this is how we specify primary key, foreign key constraint in a table. Now moving on to eighth question. How do you add a new record to a table? So in order to add a new record to a table, we will use the insert into statement, and the basic syntax is insert into, and next we will specify the table name and the column names where we want to input the records, and after that we will specify values, and inside parenthesis we will specify each value for the column which are specified in the above clause. And if you want to insert values into all columns and in the same order as they are defined in the table, you can omit the column names. And consider that our student table is having only three columns, which are student id, student name, and age, and we are going to insert data into all the three columns. That time we don't have to specify any column names in the insert into statement. We can simply specify the table name, and after that in the value clause just specify the records which we want to enter into that specific columns. Now moving on to ninth question. What is the purpose of SQL like clause? Like clause is used to search for a specified patterns in a column. It is often used along with where clause in a select statement to filter row based on a pattern match or a wildcard match. So this is the syntax for like clause, where we specify like in the where condition. That is, like is commonly used for filtering purpose, so we'll specify in the where clause condition where column name like pattern. And I have already created a video on like clause, where we use different patterns to filter data. I will provide that in the description, and if you want to know more about like clause and what each patterns does, please go and watch that video. And the 10th question is, how can you retrieve unique values from a table using SQL? In order to get unique records from a table, we can use the distinct keyword. The syntax is select distinct, and we are going to specify column names from which we have to get unique records, and after that we'll specify the table from which we have to retrieve that specific columns. Here is an example. Retrieve unique department names from the employee table. Here select distinct, and we are specifying the column name which is the department name from employee table, and the output of this query will be a column called as department name, where the column will be having only unique department names, that is it will not be repeating. Also we can use distinct keyword to retrieve unique combinations of values across columns, and here is an example of that. Retrieve unique combination of department and locations from the employee table. Here we are trying to get unique combinations of department and locations from the employee table, and the output will be, we will have a column called as department, we will have a column called as location. Individually departments and location will be repeating in the specific output, but as a combination department location combinations will be unique for that particular output or this query. Now we have covered top 10 basic SQL interview questions which is very commonly asked. Hope you like this video. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more. Thank you.